I know you don't smoke weed. I know this. But I'm gonna get you high today. Cause it's Friday.
Yes.
You ain't got no job.
Yes.
And you ain't got shit to do.
And we are back. It's your boy, Ivy Joe.
It's your boy, Just Kingin'. What's happening?
And we are Hot Takes and Half Truth.
Where the agreeable go to disagree. What's happening, y'all?
Yeah, baby, back for another episode. Episode 31. Hot Takes and Half Truth.
We getting up there, man. We get long in the teeth.
Yeah, man. We 30.
Old people say it. I don't know what it means, but old people say it so much.
That's so, bro. I guess when we first started, never thought. I ain't gonna say I never thought we'd get to this point, but 30 was so far out there. So getting better every week, every other week. We getting better, and I can honestly say, man, I thank you for putting the battery in my back on this one. I was thinking about that today, man. I was like,
how so?
I wanted to do it, but I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have followed through as consistently as we have been over the last year or so, and because of that, kind of put the battery in my back to make sure that in that instance, you never want to be the weak link. So
okay.
Like, let me just make sure I do my part. And then everything else will fall into place.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate that. While we giving flowers, I mean, I gotta give you yours because I honestly feel like I've been the weak link for some time and trying to adjust to everything changing in the personal life and everything. So I mean, I have the same sentiments though. It's like, hey, do what you can do and come as prepared as you can come and so forth, right? But nah, I appreciate that, and just know I feel the same way, man. And what's the word Lauryn Hill taught everybody on the X Factor? Reciprocity, So I feel like maybe the sentiments are reciprocated. Let's put it that way.
Yes, sir, man. With that said, baby, how was your last 2 weeks, baby?
It's been normal, but like I told you in a little pre-production, I got to stay off social media, man. We'll get to some of these topics, but it's at the point, man, where it's, I don't know, I'm feeling like Huey P over here, so I gotta, I don't know, it's fight or flight. I feel those instincts kicking in a little bit when I'm on social media now with all these stories, so just trying to, continue to go about my day to day without, going too far off the deep end with everything that's going on. But
that was well, shit, man. For me, it's just fucking Groundhog's Day.
What the hell does that mean? I never understood that holiday.
It's like every day is the same day. Like when I say that, I'm referencing the movie, the Bill Murray movie.
You never see that shit either.
Well, you should. It's pretty funny, man. So
I feel like who?
Yes.
Is that's not the one? No, that's not. That's not the one. Chance reference. That was Bigfoot or something like that. All right.
But it essentially he keeps doing the same day over and over until he gets it right, basically.
Gotcha.
But for me, it's just like every day is like almost the same day, in the sense that wake up around 6, go to the gym, come back, shower, eat, and then I'm here till 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like literally here till 5 every day. And then at 5, I may go out on the balcony, watch some interviews on YouTube, and then repeat, baby.
Send me what you watching, because I'm fucking.
Well, I ain't gonna lie to you, but I look for things that, like, I guess at this point, what I'm watching on YouTube is usually sports related, or it has something to do with, and particularly LSU, Saints, Pelican, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like maybe Joe Rogan, Brilliant Idiot, something like that.
I was on Joe yesterday, last night.
You know what I'm saying? The clips, of course, but.
Nah, I was full episode, 3 hours. Him and Billy Burr.
3 hours. They have a lot of goddamn clips of this Bill Burr one, man. What? I guess what were your sentiments on it?
I mean, it's a lot, man. They covered a lot.
Yeah, they did. That's why, because like the clips are like all over the fucking place.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's Bill Burr. You know, he's one. I actually like Bill Burr. He's one of my favorite comedians. He's a pretty popular guy, and I mean, he's got several specials on Netflix, and before that, you know, the Showtime, HBO, whatever. But I like him because he strikes me as he's able to be grounded and see both sides, and his humor of everything, whether it be liberals, conservatives. He can see middle ground and say you conservative fucks are this and you liberal whatever, you know, are this. Where it comes to men, women kind of relations, even himself, you know, he's very introspective. He's got like a very short fuse, very short fuse. But he's, how can I put it? I mean, he's aware. So he's aware when he spazzes on somebody because they took a split second too long at a stoplight, you know. People like that, man. I guess I can relate to him. So I see a little bit of myself there. He's married to a black woman, so even though he's from like fucking Boston or Maine or something like that, and those cities Boston gets the reputation of being kind of racist or whatever.
I don't know if it's a reputation, if it actually, you know, if the shoe fit.
Yeah, well, that's their reputation. It is what it is. I've been there. I had no problem while I was there, but you know, that's not to say that that's not how they are. You
probably weren't in the areas that you had to.
I was downtown. I was downtown Beantown. So
is that what they call Southie?
I don't fucking know. I can barely understand what they say. So the people with the northeastern, that Maine, New England accent, that shit might as well be Spanish, man. Sometimes, but no, they touched on a lot of stuff, man. They touched on like the Antifa shit going on in Seattle.
Yep, that was interesting.
They touched on
that was really
yes.
They touched on I think he was like a judge or something. The white guy that was like. The young women who were posting in the park the little the sheets of paper basically saying like Black Lives Matter, justice for George Floyd. It was a white dude, adult, I think, and I want to say I didn't look into the story, but he was either in law enforcement or he's like a judge or something. But he was riding a bike and he basically like charged him with his bike and like grabbed one of the girls by the wrist and told him stop like posting that shit around the park. And then he goes and snatches it off of one of the signs. But you know, Rogan with his martial arts background and you know everything, his involvement with like UFC and shit. Rogan was like talking to Bill and he like locked in. He went to a dark place and he was like, can you imagine if like some fucking adult, like grown fucking 50, 60-year-old man like was to like grab your daughter by the wrist or some shit just because she was like stapling something to a light pole or something like that. And Rogan was going dark. Bill was trying to keep it light, but Rogan was like fucking murder.
Yeah, Rogan goes there.
Yeah, no, I see that, but he like when I say he went dark, I mean he almost wasn't on the show for a moment. He posed that question, and then it was like Bill was the A mic. It had to reel it back because Rogan's like, he's like, yeah, murder. And then it was just like this awkward silence, and Bill's like, murder might be a bit extreme, and Rogan's like, no, murder. Like let's sit in that word for a while. But that's what I don't know, man. What the fuck is going on? And that's where it's kind of, I don't know, man. In my mind, it's like I'm almost there with some of these stories I'm hearing and shit. And it's just like I need to be. I'll say this. I'll equate this back to the situation I had a couple of years ago where that business venture went south.
Okay. And
where folks are like basically texting threats and saying, that's the feeling I get right now. And in that situation, I calmly went and purchased my firearm and made sure I was on the straight and narrow. I was carrying again, and it was just, there was really no relaxing almost, you know what I'm saying? Everything was tactical, and I was raised by military guys, and I got an uncle that's a Green Beret now, so, you imagine what those conversations are like, and just But for my apartment, like imagine this is my apartment. I had like tactical spots in my apartment, and it's like right here, like your hallway, same thing. That hallway, I'm like, I got a 2,000 lumens light. I said, if you come down that hallway, you're not gonna see nothing. You're not gonna know what's coming your way, and it's coming. But it got to that point, and that's where I feel myself going again now, with everything that's going on. And this shit is weird. It is very weird. But now I got youngin to protect now, so
Yes.
I'm not asking questions no more.
That's why I'm not even like going back and forth. I was like, hey, you got a family now, man.
I got a youngin to protect now, so it's I'm on go. But yeah, man. So I don't know. You should definitely check out that interview though. And I got to get to the Schultz one too, the Joe Rogan and Bill Burr and the Joe Rogan.
So Schultz, that's the one. They don't have a lot of clips, so you're gonna have to like watch that. That's the one I've started to watch.
Yeah, I think they went down more a conspiracy theory kind of rabbit hole on that one. Just listening to Schultz and his.
Well, he likes that shit.
Yeah, so does Rogan, but it's like, is there really any? To get clips, you have to say something bold, something brazen, right? It does no good to have a casual soundbite. Like that's not gonna attract people. And Bill Burr is that's his whole shtick is he'll give you a soundbite, but it's gonna be on both sides. He's able to give you that soundbite from both sides. Whereas and Rogan is clearly willing to go there as well. I think Rogan's pretty middle of the road as well.
He tries to go down. He's willing to have a conversation with just about any topic.
Where would you paint him politically? What affiliation would you?
I would like to say he's down the middle, but
he just signed a $100 million deal. So
yeah, I mean,
he touched on that a little bit.
I think he's more or less a moderate. I mean, he would say he's progressive. I've heard him say that several times.
I think he's fairly progressive, but with certain aspects of life, there comes some conservatism. Like I just said, he just signed a $100 million deal. So if you were to tell him, hey, we want you to pay 60% taxes on that, I'm very sure his response is going to be conservative.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think he's fairly fair. That's why I'm still listening to him.
Yeah.
I mean, if I felt like it was, I wouldn't be as like, that's part of my day. What clips come up today?
Yeah.
Like when I get on the balcony with my drink, maybe a cigar, I'm like, all right, let's see, did I miss any clips from Joe? And then I go see what the Baton Rouge, New Orleans station say about LSU, Saints, whatever. Is there anything I missed?
That's
and
interesting.
Then I just kind of go around from there.
That's interesting.
And then every time I hit something, then they had to relate it. So I make sure I hit all the shit under it to make sure it's something that may pop up that normally is not in my feed.
Yeah.
And I may be out there an hour.
Yeah. That's interesting though, because I don't check for him, Who? Rogan.
Oh, okay. I
don't necessarily check for him. This one again, because I'm a Bill Burr fan, so I was kind of curious, and then I took a nap yesterday, so I was just up. When you take a nap and it's like you just can't sleep, so it's fucking 3 a.m, and I'm just like, why not start a 3-hour podcast?
I was basically in the bed at 3 a.m, just like I should be just watching TV.
There you go. That's where I was at. So I think at like 12, I'm like, why not? Why not start a 3-hour podcast right now if I can sit and watch this shit? So that's what I did, man. But yeah, I would say check it out, man, in its entirety. They went on they had a nice little segment dedicated to podcasts and business deals and just kind of some of the deals that are surrounding that.
I saw a little bit of the clip on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that piqued my interest, and obviously, so I'm like listening. I'm listening. It's on. It's the only thing playing. But then I'm like Googling guns and shit. So it's like, but then they say something that piques my interest, and then I put down like the fucking gun brochures and shit or whatever websites, and then I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So they're saying how like people are trying to basically buy ownership into these podcasts and some of how the deals are structured. Where
that was one of the clip.
If the motherfucker was like your manager or something when you signed this deal, then the manager's got like an ownership stake, and say you sign a new deal and you're not even under that manager no more. Well, the way some of the deals they structure, like the publishing, is like the manager still gets almost like annuities or royalties based off of that work. So you still pay the manager despite them no longer even being your manager. So it was interesting, man. I like to say, you know, they touched on quite a few topics, man, that I normally wouldn't think would be entertaining, but given the circumstances, it was like, holy shit, this is. I didn't know they were gonna go there, but hey, we here and you got it. So.
Yeah, because I don't think apparently Bill Burr got like 2 or 3 podcasts.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, listen. When you first put me on podcast, I was like, I listen to Bill Burr Monday, Thursdays, and Brilliant Idiots, and then Taxstone when Taxstone came up, and now that's kind of shifted to like Andrew and Joe Budden, but
okay.
But yeah, Bill Burr, man, check him out. The Monday morning fucking podcast, and then the Thursday one is called Thursday morning just before Monday morning, Thursday afternoon before. There you go. So you see how my podcast rank. What's up there? Andrew, Brilliant Idiots, Burr, First Take, NPR, Planet Money shit. And then I got some Oprah down there, but she's been on pause as of late. Yeah. Gotta figure out where we align. So, what you been listening to, man?
All right, baby, that was coming next. So I guess I finally got something a little different, other than just old school shit. But that Run the Jewels 4 came out about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was Friday before last.
Yeah. I've been on that kind of hard last week and a half. So
I gotta check this. How the fuck are you listening to music if you don't have an Apple Music? What do you?
It depends. I mean, that one I was able to listen to on YouTube.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go ahead and purchase that one because I'm listening to it enough. I need to go ahead and.
Yeah, I'm adding that motherfucker right now.
Need to go ahead and just. But it's hey they, you know, I guess it should be understood that Killer Mike can fucking rap. He's snapping on that bitch, and then his homeboys, he does his thing. So I mean, but it was a solid album, man. Really solid album. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, I just added it, so I should hit play too. Hopefully, it's not playing on the Bluetooth. But yeah, I gotta check that out. I haven't. I've been hearing people talk about it. And Killer Mike, typically, like I love that brother, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, man. It's like
kill your master.
I don't know how else to put it, bro. But it's like if you look at, I think it's like my profile bio on Twitter, and it's like half engineer or half educated, half creative, half engineer, half like street nigga, whatever the case may be. But when he's the personification of whatever I was trying to articulate in that, is that here you have an educated brother who still holds true to his roots, right? And still holds true to his culture and community, albeit he's still very educated in history and his rights and constitutional rights. And
he is the definition of educated. He has a college degree. He's educated.
Yeah, but it's more so to that, because I've always felt
you don't have to have it to be educated.
No, you don't. But he is formally educated. Let's put
there
it
you
that
go.
way.
There you go.
He has a formal education, has a degree. Where he went? Morehouse?
Yeah.
So
he's a Morehouse man.
Yep. So, but on the flip side of that is but he still is himself. And he's himself in every circle. And to see him standing beside like Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and still wearing like a Run the Jewels like fitted cap and hoodie, but he's out there advocating for people to be voted in Atlanta, and advocating for people to know their constitutional rights and so forth and so on. And it's refreshing, man, to see somebody, because most of the time I think we hit college and then it's like, oh, you got to wear a suit and tie after that, and you don't. You know what I'm saying? So seeing guys like him and Charlemagne, and even the guy Coleon Noir, which I was on his YouTube channel going down, He's a black, I believe he's a lawyer, but he's a Second Amendment rights advocate. So MSNBC and all those guys bring him on to advocate like Second Amendment rights and the NRA and stuff from a black perspective, so to speak. And seeing guys like that, where it's like they show up on these networks and these broadcasts, and they still look like they're of the culture. I'm here, and I'm in a jean jacket and a fitted cap and some Jordans, but I also have this law degree from so-and-so, or I have this degree from Spelman, or I am this syndicated radio broadcast personality, and yes, I want to know what Joe Biden has in plan for the black community, right? Yeah, I look like this, but here's my agenda, right? I love it. I love that shit, man.
Good deal. So what you been listening to, my nigga?
Trap Hamilton.
This is true.
Yes.
Trap Hamilton. Shout out to my brother, man. Me and Trap used to record, and that's a shameless plug. Back when I used to work in the studio and was producing and all that, that was my brother, man. We used to run around performing around Orlando and Apopka and such. But he just dropped an album. It's on Apple Music. I believe it's on all the DSPs, but I'm listening to it on Apple Music. It's called No FNs, but it stands for No Fuck Niggas. So thoroughly impressed, man.
Yes.
I actually, I don't hold no punches. He know how I do. Like if it ain't good, I ain't gonna lie to you and say it's good, But he got a couple joints on there where I actually find myself listening like consistent. I'm doing this shit for the podcast last night, 3 a.m, and I got that shit on repeat, just bumping. I'm just like, yo, this shit actually, like, he nailed the beat, the structure of the verse, the hook. Like, we used to get real technical with shit. This is years ago, 15, 20 years ago. But I'm proud to say I'm listening to him, and I'm just like he'll break up his flow at like the perfect point in time and run into like a almost melodic kind of portion of it with like chords and shit, and then switch it back over. But it's refreshing, man, to hear he's still rapping with kind of the same flow and cadence and just kind of style and lingo that I remember that we used to kind of usher in Central Florida back then. So I'm loving it, man. I'm liking it so far. Been bumping the What Else joint, the I'm Ready track. I'm loving it, man. Trap Hamilton, no fuck niggas. Fuck with it.
Already, man. I mean, fuck it. We're going to go ahead and say this episode is brought to you by No Trap Hamilton, No FNs.
There you go.
And don't be a square. Hit the share, like, love, thumbs up, notifications, subscribe buttons on all our social media platforms.
All that.
Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, Hot Takes and Half Truth Podcast, IG and Twitter on HT Square Pod. And if you're truly new school, old school,
Yes.
you can email us at htsquarepod@gmail.com. That's it. With that said, before we jump into the heavy topic of the day, I wanted to start this portion by giving a shout out to Mayor Bowser
Yes.
of DC. On the Black Lives Matter circle and the Peyton Street with Black Lives Matter in DC, headed up to the White House. I thought that was a pretty dope image. Something I would love to be able to see in person.
The president lives on One Black Lives Matter Boulevard or street or something like that.
That I wanted to give you a salute for that on that ballsy move.
Yeah.
So definitely clap that up.
Yes, for sure. Definitely making the statement known and making it it's clear, and definitely, round of applause to everybody else that's doing it as well. We don't got to hit the button, but it's because there's a lot of people following suit doing the same gestures. I just saw in LA, they took a stance with like all Black Lives Matter. So, trying to incorporate the LGBT community.
Gotcha.
And things of that nature. So, yes, shout out to everybody that's taking a stance and making their stance known visibly with these murals and the gestures, man. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see.
Good deal. So with that said, man, that's the major topic of this episode. Is going to be the fun policing or defund, reform, or whatever, however you want to describe it, that's been proliferating the not only social media timelines, but all over the news line, and it's been a hot topic over the last 2 3 weeks. And I guess one of the things we wanted to do, and specifically you, I know, being that you went down that rabbit hole, we wanted to kind of give some ideas. First off, our thoughts on it, and then kind of what, our plan, our agenda on what we would like to see. So in that instance, I guess I'll start from a high level, from a perspective of what defunding the police is, and that's literally reducing the police budget and reallocating those funds to, some social aspect of the community, whether that's education, public health, housing, youth services, but it's more or less diverting all those resources. And, with that said, we all know that we've seen it year after year. Police cops aren't necessarily equipped to handle mental health or, social aspects, non-criminality aspects of their job, and they do a bad job at it. And that's when a lot of, you see a lot of instances of people that's dealing with mental health getting shot and killed. And in that instance, you redivert those funds in theory to like a social work aspect. And then in that instance, in those calls, and like they said, the majority of the calls that 911 get isn't about a crime. It's about some type of mental health or health issue. So, it's one of those things where it kind of goes in that they can reach out to the social work as opposed to going to the cop. But that's pretty much from a high level. I mean, we can get into the details, the nitty gritty of it all. But I go ahead and pass it to you.
Yeah, I don't think there's really too many details, because I wasn't able to get my hand on the actual budget. I was able to get my hand on the county budget, so that just kind of shows you and highlights what the sheriff's department is asking for. One thing to note, so I looked at Palm Beach County. First thing that it struck me as not odd, but I guess I should have expected this. But so the Palm Beach sheriffs, they provide services to Northwest, South Palm Beach County. So the islands have their own police agency. Yeah. I thought that was one to. For those that don't know, Palm Beach Island, that's where, Mar-a-Lago, and you go over where the breakers and some of these very, very pricey real estate,
But then I also take into account, like, Jupiter, if it's Northwest.
Yeah, they got Jupiter. Okay. But it's just... I
thought you said Northwest.
No, the North, West, and South regions of Palm Beach County.
And West. Okay, I got you now.
So, but the whole East region, so basically all the intercoastals are
they own?
Funded by probably the residents.
Yeah, that's what it does.
So I like to point that out.
I meant, and that's something I meant to say we should talk about, was that Epstein documentary on Netflix.
I haven't seen it. I started that, but I didn't.
But
really...
it kind of shows, like, at the beginning, he basically, I think he bought a couple units for the Palm Beach police department, and basically was trying to develop a relationship with them.
Oh no, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what's going on over there. So even when all the COVID or the protests were starting, they had the sheriffs, block off the bridges, put the drawbridges up, and the sheriffs were basically a blockade to the bridge house and to the bridge to keep the protests from going across the bridge, while all of them were protected or whatever across the bridge. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess my whole idea was I wanted to see if I could get my hands on a budget and see what defunding or reallocation of funds would look like. So I'll give a high-level overview from the Palm Beach County 2020 annual budget. So without going into all the details of the county itself, the sheriff budget itself, they requested $715 million of their budget. And actually $725, because $10 million of that was carried over from 2019 as they had some delays in whatever services or whatever. So $725 million for all intents and purposes go to the sheriff's office from the county. Now what their
From the county to the sheriff's office, you mean?
Yeah, from the county to the sheriff's office. What the sheriff's office was requesting.
Gotcha.
So looking into that, give you some breakdown of the sheriff's office. So basically, they're what their roster looks like. So they have roughly it's like 4,400 employees, 1,644 are sheriff's officers, 700 roughly or 698 are correctional officers, and then 1,947. So for all intents and purposes, 2,000 are civilian staff.
Yeah. I was gonna say that they brought that up a lot. That a large majority of the police staff is civilian workers.
Yeah, it's a little bit under 40. I mean, under 50%. So yeah. So with that, and then I also took notice of the revenues that they generate. So they generate approximately $95 million revenue
from seizures.
Oh. No, actually, the fines and stuff was only like $300,000. I was kind of surprised on that.
That's why I jumped to seizures.
Yeah, they just say services. They say services, so I don't know. I was trying to dive into the details of like what's your services and shit. But so a large portion of that 95 million, 79.5 million are classified as services rendered. And then you got the next big ticket item was 8.7 million, and that's grants that come from the county. So on per capita, with the sheriffs, with their population or how many people they hire, it's about 113 officers per 100,000 people. You break that down, that's 1.13 officers per 100 people. 48 for COs, and I think I did that per 1,000. And then for civilian, it's 134 per 100,000. So we drastically outnumber these motherfuckers. 101,444,000 roughly in Palm Beach County. So 1.5 million people, and then they've got 1,600, officers. So from our last conversation, it was, we drastically outnumber them. I like to draw that kind of comparison or not comparison, but just kind of juxtapose that just for the fact that to see how they're able to contain some of these protests and some of, the civil unrest and the riots and things of that nature. If we unify, I digress. I told you, man, I've been going down a dark place. All right, so
I see.
Like I said, what I was trying to do is I wanted to see a breakdown of 725 to see where they were allocating funds, but I wasn't able to find that's another level of detail. That's, more in line with what the sheriff's office has, and I don't know that they're required to release that to be a public document. So instead, what I figured we would do is
I'm sure you can get it if you really want to get it.
When
I say that, I mean, you probably have to go somewhere to
read somebody palms.
And request it officially, but
Yeah. Short notice, I wasn't able to do that.
Exactly.
I might still look into it, but this is enough to work with, right? Yeah. I can look at 725 and say easily. For the county, let's say 2%. 2% should go to community. I would say community relations, community involvement, education, things of that nature. 2% can go to, and when I say 2%, right, that's the 725 million. So 1% would be 7.25 million. So we're talking $14.5 million put into community relations. And what that looks like to me, it's, actually encouraging like officer involvement, within the community. Like me personally, we're both in fraternities. I joined a fraternity. A large portion of the reason why I joined was to give back to communities and community service and things of that nature. I've never seen fucking cops do anything in the community. I've never seen, and I'm not saying that they don't, but just saying growing up in Pine Hills in the Apopka, I've never seen cops donating book bags or anything like that. I've never seen them, in a off clock, right? I seen them at events like that, but they were working. I'm saying I've never seen them put on that event, and my stepdad was a cop. So I was raised by a cop.
I was waiting for that to come.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was raised by a cop for a large majority of my my adolescence. So, but I've never seen, hey, we're gonna put on this event. We want everybody to come out, right? We're giving book bags where we donate it to like barbers to give the community haircuts. Hey, we're giving away food and things of that nature, right? But I've never seen an olive branch extended for them to build a relationship with the community. So I think some money should be going towards that, right? Come out, hire DJs, hire vendors to come out, have some food, things of that nature to kind of, take a chance. Whoever, I don't know how they break up the jurisdictions, but I imagine it's probably districts or something like that. Mm-hmm. Whoever runs that district, you need to come out, be a voice in that community, get to know people, talk with some of the, the small business owners and get to know these small business owners in the community and hear the voice of the community at these events. And actually be able to, maybe, if it's in a rough part of town or where people struggle financially, giving, those school supplies and the book bags and things of that nature, it's a small token. It's a small, gesture, but shows them that, hey, we want you to focus on this and we'll do our best with, trying to contain all the noise that might, surround your environment and where you live. But hey, we understand that you're working multiple jobs to make ends meet. The least we could do is give you some school supplies to help ease that burden on the family, right? Food drives, things of that nature. I see them arresting people for giving food to like homeless people all the time. Like, okay, well, if they can't do it, why don't y'all fucking do it? Why don't y'all take some of this money, take another 1% to allocate to helping the homeless out, under somebody's help. And I know legal.
So and I like the idea. So that's kind of what, and like former commissioners will always say that they're ill prepared or ill equipped to handle those type of issues. That's why defunding or reforming, essentially taking what I read most about was roughly 10% of the budget. Mm-hmm. Reallocating that to, like I said, social services, education, or whatever, and then work those entities into the 911 center. So instead of, like, if the cops get a call for a domestic violence or a substance abuse type case, instead of it going to a cop who really want to kick ass and take you in, you know what I'm saying? It's someone that was educated and prepared and trained to deal with that issue. You know what I'm saying? So in that instance, and I guess I'll jump into that, I'm more disappointed in certain individuals that are just blind or just unwilling to have that conversation. It makes sense. Like, they've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
Now, you and I may disagree on, and not necessarily us, I'm talking about this theoretical politician. We may not, disagree on whether or not defund the police is the right word to use or phrasing to use, but I think we can get on the same page as far as there's an opportunity here to improve policing in this country.
Drastically, yes.
And that, like, just some stats, like over the last 40 years, budgets have ballooned threefold in the last 40 years, and solve rate or clearing rates have gone down. So we're actually paying more for less. Whether it's, like, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, I think for homicides, so I guess this is a disparity. Well, first off, they only solve roughly, I think, 56% of all homicides. But if they're white people, they usually solve a little over 85%, and then it drops to like under 50% for blacks. But in that instance, you take into account robberies over that same period, they only solve roughly 30%. Home invasion.
What do they solve of in white people in that?
Well, in that instance, they didn't break it out. That was one of the FBI statistics that they did go further.
Nigga
into
stole
it.
my whole fucking motorcycle. And Nick
Yeah.
called me a month later to ask what color it was.
Exactly.
Like,
So-
boy, where this shit going? This is a closed case.
Exactly. So that is, like I say, robberies, like home invasion, 30%. Burglaries,
It was also a black motorcycle.
less than 15%. And the same with motor vehicle deaths, less than 15%.
Oh, I'm a statistic.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, in that instance, we're paying
the
them.
majority on that one.
In that instance, if we take those burdens, and we do this in business all the time, you take those burdens off their plate, they can focus more on them. And they can get better at that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. I would. So, yes, I agree. I don't know. Who would you, when you say take it off their plates though? Who would half of that shit go to?
I'm talking about when taking off plates, the substance abuse calls.
Oh, got you.
Domestic
Yes.
violence,
Okay,
the homelessness, the mental health.
got you. And
Take
then all
that-
the other things you just named should improve.
Yeah,
got you.
They can focus more on that. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I thought you were saying take some of that shit off their plate.
No,
I'm like,
no,
who the
no,
hell
no,
you
no,
gonna
no,
give
no.
that to?
No, they gonna do the policing.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If you listen to a lot of ex-cops or ex-commissioners, those areas are the areas they always say we're not equipped to handle that.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to stop crime. You know, when you give people that badge, and you know, they have a lot of like warrior training that they're trying to discourage. When they train to do that, that's how, you know, when a hammer see that nail, it's going to hammer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's right or wrong.
Problem is the hammer's been seeing fucking screws and bolts and fucking.
It want to see a nail. That's what it wants to see. So I'm gonna put that square in that round hole.
And
It's gonna fit. I'm gonna make it fit.
You know, before I digress, let me just go back to something like this. It's so on the same page of what you just saying, right? Basically, reallocate the funds from the police department, from the sheriff's office, and we want to allocate that to professionals in the actual field. So psychologists, psychiatrists.
I also like to see some of that go to the schools too, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
The education.
And that's why I got that down there. I got 2% for education, you know, and that's only 15, but you know, I'm trying to get to that 10% that you said. So community relations, you know, 2% there. We could probably do 3, maybe 4% to education. I would like to see. We could take 2 or 3%, and I think put that towards more civilian staff. So if we get another 21 million there, right? I think the average, I write it down, the average median income in Palm Beach County is like $63,000 or something like that for a household size of like 2.6, something or another. Which I wonder if that median was household or if it was per person. But I digress. How many annual salaries can you pay with $21 million across the county, right? For if you're paying a psychiatrist or somebody $60,000, $70,000,
and I think
$70,000, $80,000 a year, right? That's a good number of people. Per capita, it'll probably be around whatever they have for the COs, which you're talking 1 per 50, 1 per 100, something in that range. I think it's doable. The other thing I would like to do
at the same time, and I apologize for jumping in, but at the same time, that's what we pay these guys to do, to figure that shit out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Figure it out. Like, you know, that is your job.
Yeah, that's what our tax money is fucking going to. So
I apologize, but I always like that type of. That's always a burr in my craw. It's like, yo, dude, that's what they here to do. Do your job.
This is gonna be what was the fucking last episode name? No, not that one. Not the foot and boils my bunions or something like that. Here we go. A foot in my craw. What'd you?
Burr in my craw. Like in my paw, should I say? But yeah, do your job. Hey, but at the same time, we mentioned that on another podcast where you gotta have agendas, and so at the same time, we come up with an agenda.
Yeah, the problem is that, you know, we settle into comfort. You know what I'm saying? We settle into like where more force is the answer, and the force has been working. But now we're getting to a point where the force is clearly has exceeded on so many occasions has exceeded the amount of force required. You know, and the recent example up in Atlanta with the young man that was shot and killed at the Wendy's. The cop said, "Oh, he pointed a taser at me," and it's like, okay, well, is a taser a deadly weapon? And no, it is not. So you decided to use deadly force with a weapon that is not going to inflict a deadly wound, And I get it, hell, you could shoot him in the face or in the, whatever. And I understand that, and I can empathize with the officer in that regards, that like if somebody's pointing a fucking a gun that shoots like a dart at you, like there some bodily harm can be had, but again, it's like, do you? And I think clearly the mayor, again, Miss Keisha Lance Bottoms, agrees with my stance, is that the use of force in that instance was excessive. And it was, it was excessive. You shot a guy who had a taser, right? I understand if he had a actual firearm and pointed a firearm at you, that's one thing. But he had a taser, which is a non-deadly force weapon. Things like that. There's got to be a clear line drawn to where if they are not like all this, I felt my life was in danger. Like we got to start holding their feet to the fire on that shit. And it's like how, like we can't keep just taking cops' words for, True. Because you see Zimmerman where you got a weapon, he don't. You track Trayvon down and you're walking up on him and an altercation ensued. I'm liable to believe, you were the instigator, right? You look at Ahmaud Arbery, right? Again, a person with a weapon who encounters another person, and now a scuffle ensues, and now it's like, well, I'm in fear for my life because I was on the losing end of said scuffle. Are you allowed to escalate to a firearm even though you instigated the confrontation? Like, there's got to be a clear line drawn in that.
Especially if you go there with the firearm.
Yeah. Which was the same thing in both cases. Yeah. And it's a little different from the young man in Atlanta, and I apologize, his name, I can't think of it right now, but it's like, I don't want to get it wrong. But the point being is that I think that, with reducing their budgets, I think we should look at how the funds within the budget that remains is allocated. And I think of that pie, we should allocate those funds as well. And I think that outfitting officers with like ARs and shotguns and things. Rashad, there you go. Okay. R.I.P. Rest in peace to Rashad, and condolences and to the family and friends, loved ones, so forth. But all that to say, I think of the funds that are left over. So if we take 10% out of that 725, that means 72.5 million is going somewhere else. Then I think of the remaining 60 or 640 that's left over. Mm-hmm. I think that we got to look at that and strategically allocate that as well. And we got to make the cops, they need to be better. They need to execute better than what, they've been trained to do. Prime example of that, again, I think we touched on it last week, so I won't belabor it too much, is, if a cop is, if you green and you just, if you like the white dude that was tagging along with Denzel, you green, you're a rookie, you're on fucking patrol duty. That just is what it is. You are patrol for all intents and purposes.
Why them boys in fucking Minnesota was on patrol?
And I'm getting to that. You on patrol, right? And your job is merely, and I don't want to make this sound like I'm speaking down on that profession, because again, my stepdad was a patrolman. He wasn't no detective or nothing like that. He was a patrol officer, right? But your job should be to handle like level one. Let's just call them level one infractions, traffic violations. Speeding, a person, maybe I want to say disorderly conduct, but I want to say things that can be de-escalated that don't require like a firearm, basically, right? You can have a taser, you don't have a pistol. You need a pistol or something like that, then I think you need to go to tier 2, those tier 2 employees, in which I think there needs to be more tier 1 employees than tier 2. So, like your bicycle officers and things like that, where, if guys are fighting at South Beach, you need somebody to break that up. Okay, send those guys in, right? But if it's something where where they do these traffic stops and they fear like, I feel like, this isn't a routine traffic stop. Like I didn't pull you over for, your tail light being out. I pulled you over because there's a warrant out for this vehicle, an Amber Alert. This vehicle matches the Amber Alert. We think you have firearms in this vehicle. Okay, you call it in, you stop them. Once you get the vehicle stopped, you're basically recon at that point, right? I got eyes on the vehicle's here. I'm calling in backup. You call in the tier 2 guys in that instance, and those tier 2 guys are the guys who, one, their job should be to de-escalate whatever the hell's going on. But 2, they're the guys that would start to have the brass, I think. Brass meaning the ammo, bullets, and stuff like that. What I think we got a bunch of these patrol guys, and, again, I'm just some fucking civilian for all intents and purposes who's about to start buying up guns and ammo because I'm I'm on edge, so I probably wouldn't be a good candidate to be a fucking cop. But you have these patrolmen who will basically call the tier 2. Tier 2 come in, you have a general or whatever the hell the ranks go, and they come in, their job should be to de-escalate the situation, not to escalate. If you can't de-escalate it, then okay, it is what it is, right? But your assessment of that situation should be deemed correct by that point. Meaning, if you think it was a threat, you thought they had firearms and a gunfight might ensue, oh shit, now a gunfight is ensuing. We have the right people here. Instead of you're calling patrolmen who have firearms who think that a black guy who you pulled over for speeding is a threat. Like that assessment should never, it shouldn't be, that shouldn't be how you're analyzing that situation going into it, pulling somebody over for a speeding ticket. Does that make sense? Am I drawing like a very like the line is we're looking for drugs and guns and things in this situation, whereas over here, hey man, your tail light's out. Or you ran that red light back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we got to start drawing some lines in the sand where we're saying, why are you approaching? This happened to me down here where I get pulled over. And I remember when my car broke down coming back from Orlando, a couple cops pull up and they all approach the car. And I'm like, bro, you didn't even pull me over. I'm sitting here with my hazards on, and you're approaching my car with my kid in the back and the wife in the back because he was still like nursing and shit. And I'm like, why are you approaching my vehicle with your hand like this? Like, I didn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a million questions for me. It's like, they got to understand that shit puts us on edge. And rather than de-escalating something, it's like it's almost like they're trained to escalate things, and they don't understand the psyche. You hear how I'm even talking today. It's like this is where my mind is at from where the world is. From just where the world is, I'm on edge like how I am now. And it's like they take none of that into account with their practices. And I think we got to change that shit. So I'd say allocation of officers, I'd say 70, let's say 60% should be patrolmen, meaning they should have non-lethal, they should have access to non-lethal weapons, shouldn't have any access to lethal weapons. I would go as far as to say, if we say 60, and this is just of the sheriff's officers, right? So that's of the 1,600, I believe it was, 1,600 officers. 60% of that should be non-lethal. I would go as to say, let's say 30% should be lethal, but I even knock that. Yeah, I'll knock that down a little bit. Let's say 25% should be lethal, but within reason. I'm talking firearms like handguns, and then maybe
the shotty.
Yeah, a shotgun or something. Something, like you don't need marksman. You know what I mean? That last 15%. That should be, and it shouldn't be that high. I go back 35, and then that last 50, 35, that's 5%. I'm all over the place on these numbers. I don't like that. 10%, 30, 60. 60 non-lethal, 30 lethal with limitations. Shotguns, handguns, right? And shotguns don't have no fucking slugs in there. You need to have like buckshot shotguns. Birdshot, buckshot. That's it. And then 10% can be your special forces. That's your SWAT and the guys that are trained to do these type of, warrants and serve warrants and why the fuck am I'm missing the word that I'm looking for. But these should be the guys that serve like the warrants where there's a high threat level. Other than that, these niggas don't need ARs with scopes on them. They don't. My stepdad had one. When he's on shift, it's in the back of the car, sits right behind him, and just sits above his head. What do you need that for? If you're serving traffic violations and you don't need it. You do not need that weapon. You got somebody resisting arrest, a taser should work. A taser should work. If taser don't work,
get these hands.
It's I got it off the muscle. Yes. You want to fight? I want to tussle. You got a Jason Derulo your way in that one. But again, when it gets to that point, there should be backup. You know, in the case of Minneapolis, like they had 4 guys there. 4 guys. They were able to subdue him.
They got him in the truck.
Yeah. No, they were able to subdue him. So their job was done. They did their job. You didn't need to kneel on the man's neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Shout out to Dave Chappelle as well. You didn't need to kneel on his neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. You could have tossed him in the back of the squad car and let him throw a temper tantrum back there, and y'all just wait outside the car.
How often have you seen that shit?
All
nigga?
The time.
Exactly. So it's like
all the time.
Why were y'all so upset that the nigga was upset in the back of the truck? If that's what happened. We don't even know if that happened. Could have just been like, you know what? I've had run-ins with you in the past.
Yep.
And and you said something that pissed me off, and I'm okay. You in the truck now. I'm gonna see what you can do now.
Yep. And that's a prime example of where they didn't need force to get them subdued. They didn't need force to get them restrained, or whatever they needed. They were able to handle that without a lethal weapon.
The job was done.
Yes. Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think more of that. And then again, I understand that sometimes you're gonna be on like you got to be smart. Even my stepdad would say this. You got to be smart in some situations where it's like if you think that a car has, contraband or weapons or something in there, and you think that a firefight may ensue, like what's that to say? Like that's not a call that's not a car you pull over by yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's a call where either you let it go, right? Because this is just your own bias kind of playing into it, and you're just like, I wonder, and you're probing, but you have no real cause for suspicion, right? You're just kind of probing, and you just like I was watching it was Trevor Noah last night, and Trevor Noah was playing a clip where a guy in a helicopter, they pulled this black man over, and the guy in the helicopter was like, that's a bad dude right there. How did you make that assessment? It's a black guy standing outside his vehicle like that. That looks like a bad dude. It's like that. You have to be able to check those kind of biases. And it's like the guy did nothing. He's just standing there like this at his truck. What about that situation tells you that I might need to shoot this man? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Warrior training.
I don't know.
But I will say, kind of circling back to the recent killing in Atlanta, it definitely was excessive force. Like that, you're correct. I just don't like it when the nigga tried to, like, you were in the wrong and now you're trying to get out of it by essentially assaulting the police. Now, going from, you getting that he took the taser from them, right? Mm-hmm. Going from, he has the taser now, and now it's like, I'm embarrassed and I need to, put you in your place. I get that. But it's just like, bruh, it was a DUI. Just go on, take that, man. Take that L, bruh. Like, you're not, that's a little more gray of a situation as opposed to the one in Minneapolis for me.
How okay. I'd ask, how did he even get his taser?
Hey, that is fair, and that is fair.
Yes,
I will give you that. But
because I again, just in my dealings with folks from the military and your sidearm is
true. Yes.
Yes,
I give you that.
That could have very well now. Albeit again, this might come down to training, right? That could have been his sidearm, right? That could have been his sidearm. So you let somebody disarm you.
Yeah. That's on you.
Again, so what did you do incorrectly that allowed you
True.
to be disarmed in that situation.
We can agree with that.
And I'm not saying that old boy should have done that, right? I'm not saying Rashad, what Rashad did. I'm not justifying it or anything, but I'm saying
that's the part.
Again, we have to, if we're looking for the root cause of the situation, right? You shot him because he had your taser. How? Why? How did he get your taser?
So I agree with you on that,
right?
And that's not part of it. I think we on the same page with that.
Yeah, but that was basically the last job I was in. That was my job, getting to the root cause of why equipment fails. You do that by you just repeatedly ask how or why, how and or why, and you just keep stepping back until you get down to it, and it's like, oh well, and it may be something as simple as like, I was doing a test, like I let my guard down. I didn't think this guy was gonna run because he was drunk or whatever, and it's like, okay, you let your guard down, right? Root cause is there, so you were technically at fault for this guy disarming you. And now you touched on some other elements, right? Whether it be like embarrassment or whatever plays into that, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he get back to the locker room and showering up. Joke's gonna fly,
and he's gonna be reprimanded.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure he was fired.
No, but even if, like, let's say for instance, they just were able to subdue him, he was gonna be reprimanded for him getting it.
Absolutely.
You're not supposed to let that happen.
Absolutely. And he knew he was in trouble. Like the moment he got it, he was like, "Fuck." So it's not to belabor the topic enough, but we gotta start doing some of these root cause investigations on the police responses and some of the situations that they find themselves in, and looking at them. And I think far too often it's in the case of like Breonna Taylor, you look at the police report. That police report is like
someone needs to be
half-assed.
Charged.
Yeah, it's half-assed. You know what I mean? It's a half-assed executed police report. It
reeks of cover-up.
Absolutely, and it's just like, oh, you don't have pertinent information on the time, or did you knock? Did you identify yourself? Like none of this stuff is in there. And then that just goes to show that it's too easy, and whoever is investigating them, IA. They're investigating, but they're not doing their due diligence to hold those guys and gals accountable, and it's starting to show. And it's really
maybe that be another thing, a part of the defunding, like make that an autonomous unit.
Yes, that absolutely needs to happen.
Like,
and shout out to Champ, because Champ told me that on the phone the other day. He said, make sure you mention that. So yeah, cops shouldn't be investigating cops.
Yeah, make that a completely separate entity. Like they have their own rules. They're not actually together.
And there probably should be some type of third party. It's like look at accounting, right? A firm does not make its own accounting rules. There is, I forget what it's called. I want to say APEC, but that ain't it. But the GAP.
Yeah.
Generally acceptable accounting practices or whatever it is, right?
Principles or practices. Yeah.
So if you're running a business, more than likely, you're going to abide by these rules and regulations. You have to fall in line with these, right? And there is some give and take within that, but generally speaking, these are the guidelines, right? And where those rules and where the give and take is that you have to basically say, hey, I'm not going to follow it here, but we're going to follow this guideline. Mm-hmm. But these big Fortune 500 companies, they get audited all the time.
Yep.
My aunt has audited them. And it's for that very reason, because, hey, you can't claim this as revenue, or you can't claim this as an expense or whatever, because it does not meet the principles and guidelines in which you're following. Now, if the police had that, where it said, hey, if a person has a non-lethal weapon, you are not allowed to use lethal force. Or there was a movie where you basically have to call it in to get access to use.
That's what's that? Watchmen.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I think there were some movies too. I think in Minority Report or something like that. But yes, Watchmen. That is the example I was actually thinking in my head.
Give me access, man.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think that. But do we need something like that? Because we can't have, you can't just say, in the instance of Breonna Taylor, you serving a warrant, you shot a sleeping woman.
Yeah.
What was the excuse there?
I guess to be fair, they were being shot at, but at the same time, it seemed like they used a knockless warrant, and I don't think they technically identified themselves. So nigga just did what they were supposed to do. Like, oh, you running in my shit? I'm gonna bust off.
He shot, I believe, one bullet.
But if you going in like
okay,
the warrior cop that you are.
So root cause analysis.
You need is one.
So once again, root cause analysis. Why did he shoot? Why did he shoot?
Exactly. We just said it.
But
like,
no.
If they didn't knock or identify themselves,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I want you to just walk through this. I'm gonna sit on this side and just walk through it with me. Why did this gentleman shoot?
Because someone ran in his house.
Why did they run into his house?
They were in the wrong place.
But we're getting there. That's where I wanted you to walk you to. But why were you there? You were serving a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At the wrong place.
Why were you serving a warrant on that house? Oh, that we were actually meant to be at the other. You meant to be at the other fucking house. You're not even at the right house.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I don't know, man. Is it me or should we fucking check the address before we go kicking in the door?
That also can go back to, was there any because okay, so what I was saying about, was there any past dealings between them cats and the people in that house? Only because, I mean, the cat that they were looking for was already in jail. So it's like, how are y'all serving a warrant for a person that's already in jail?
Point again, man.
How is that able to happen? Like, the name is in the warrant. You know, you got access to the data in the fucking jailhouse. So how, like,
one thing that I can honestly say, and you know, speak from my own standpoint personally, my own experiences, is that guns inherently make you fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's why I try not to go anywhere with mine.
They inherently, you heard what I said about my last situation. It's like, all right, this hallway right here with this light, you can't see. I can pepper them up real good right here. You create these situations in your head. I was watching some competitive shooting yesterday.
Yeah,
and before you even do the competition, the guy is like, you creak open the door to your hotel room, and there's fucking bad guys in there.
Why you always gotta go there?
It's
how often does that happen?
But that's what I'm saying.
And are you doing anything that would lead to bad guys wanting to be in your room?
But even when he's saying that, he's like, you go in your hotel room and you notice your door is ajar.
These motherfuckers live in a fantasy world, man.
That's where it takes you. It takes you there to where you have to create these fight or flight situations. As crazy as it is. Now, in my situation, I don't know if it was semi-real, because a person knew my address. A person literally said...
Threats were given.
So. Yeah, a person literally said, we can solve this with violence. It's nothing to send your address. So it's like, okay, well, if that's going to be the case, I need to be prepared in case something comes around here. That's as far as I took that.
Yeah.
But
a lot of these motherfuckers just in their head. They watch the Fox Newses of the world or the Scuttlebutt at the local bar, and that's where you heard, you know, they say, oh, so-and-so had upset someone ran into his house, or you gotta be ready, it's they in their own fucking head.
Absolutely.
They never had any real issues other than, you know, maybe economical issues, but
absolutely. It inherently makes you create these situations, and it's like watching Die Hard, and then you leave the fucking theater and you just want to.
Yes.
You're on edge at every corner. Every corner you round, you want to clear the corner and shit. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, and some of these guys, they live on like 50 acres. It's like, nobody's coming out there.
I gotta protect my shit. From these illegals. These illegals.
Yeah, it's just getting wild, man. But all that to say, $725 million. Give up about 75 of that to the community.
I think 10% is not, like, and just to kind of elaborate on it, because I know we moved towards the end of it, but You have places like New York and LA with, $6 billion budgets and $3 billion budgets. I mean, 10% of that, yeah, it's gonna, I guess, especially if you space it out over the course of 4 or 5 years. But I mean, you can divert those to areas of the community that will better serve the community. The number one link to lowering crime is better education, better opportunities. So if we can hit them early, like they always say, you get to them early with education, then you tend to limit the group of criminality that's susceptible to doing criminality. And so rediverting that, a portion of those funds to those areas, and also reallocating, their mission statement. Like, again, going back to taking the substance abuse call, the domestic violence call, the homelessness cases, stuff of that matter. Take that out of their plate. That to me, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, look, those are the instances where people, like, let's be frank, unless there's a real issue in the house of a domestic violence where they really beating each other up, not just like they yelling. Like, now they got the law so stringent that literally if they just come to the house, someone got to go to jail. Yep. Like, nah, man. Like, have the experts go in there and determine whether or not that needs to take that next step. You know what I'm saying? You're not an expert on that. You just like, yo, I'm gonna get my number. Yep. Boom. I collared someone. So I think all those are common sense, like they like to say, common sense measures. Like, they've been talking about this shit since the Reagan era, when he cut funding for all those different type of, shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he cut funding for mental health and homelessness and education. It started under him. So, and I think 10% is a nice round number that ain't really that big, but it can make a big difference in those worlds. Yep. And I guess one last thing I want to just say, just kind of, I guess two things. First off, police unions. That's the biggest. Police unions allow for those bad cops to stay around. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had no problem with you being able to collectively bargain, but when bad cops are being protected by these unions that have so much power, maybe they need to be like, hey, they busting all these other unions up. Yep. Why not them? And then the last thing I really wanted to do, so there's been a lot of movement, at least as far as like protesting, as far as with the defunding and all that. And even, there's been some movement on the Republican side of the aisle with at least addressing some issues with policing. But the latest Gallup poll basically says the opposite. So they polled 686 adults, and on the poll, 64% of them opposed defunding the cops, and 34% supported it, with the black community 57% supporting. So it's still got a long ways to go. Got some barriers to cover or to cross, but I mean, I think where we miss the boat is when people look at it from a perspective of completely abolishing. I don't want the police to abolish.
But why do we do that? Why when we hear something like, if we say we should cut funding, people hear cut all the funding?
Yeah. Well, I mean, now to be fair,
defund doesn't.
Some all the way on the left and probably even some all the way on the right are probably saying that, are probably speaking to that fact. But I mean, I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to
Antifa.
I mean, well, I won't say Antifa, but there are some people on the left that is saying abolish, and then just because of the militia on the right, like that type of right, I'm sure they would like for them to go away too, because this is my land. Police me, so I'm sure they would fall in that too. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not in that. I know they have a place. It's just, we need reforms, and the way to do it is like like we always say, hit them in the pocketbook. You know what I'm saying? And then in that instance, like the couple of areas that we was talking about, substance abuse, homelessness, that type of mental health, like they shouldn't be doing. Like that's something they've been saying for years that they're inequipped to handle.
Yeah.
So why not? Like, if you're not equipped to handle it, well, some of that funding, that $275 million, some of that is to handle that shit. We need to take that back from you so we can handle it.
725.
You know what I'm saying? So, but at any rate, I just want to kind of like get that out there and definitely address the police union piece of it. Like that's gonna be the ultimate, because like even the one in Minneapolis, I think they trying to sue them, saying it's unconstitutional. They can't disband them.
Fine, arrest him.
You know what I'm saying? So
Arrest him. Put his ass in jail. Congrats. We didn't disband you. You're in jail. Serving murder too. Congrats. And then all your other accomplice buddies, who just fucking sat there casually turned a cold shoulder to a man saying he can't breathe.
Yeah, man. That was callous. You know what I'm saying? Now
that was cowardice.
That too.
Yes.
Anything else on that?
Nah, man. Heading to a happy place, man. What are we talking about?
All right, my man. We're
gonna end right back here somehow.
Yeah, probably. But as we've been watching over the last few weeks with all the protesting, naturally it spills over into corporate America. And I guess over the last week, a couple companies' dirty underwear have been came to light.
Dirty laundry. Got aired.
Yeah, got aired out. You're right, man.
Yes.
That's what you.
Aired out.
They aired them out, namely Addias and Este Lauder. So, in the Addias case, I guess they were upset. They were saying that there was instances of racial issues that were reported that seemed to be wiped under the table. Mm-hmm. Also, there were issues with, I guess, hiring. And just overall, they felt the Black and Latino employees felt like there was kind of work. Not kind of. Let me take that back. They were working in a hostile environment, in a hostile workplace. So over the last week and a half or two, the Black employees sent a presentation to their execs called "The State of Our Emergency," where they laid out some initiatives that they feel would make the company better. Namely, they asked for by the end of 2021 to have 31% of the employees be Black and Latino, and to donate $50 million to Black communities. In response, the company pledged to have to meet 30%. I guess they off a percent. Black and Latinos by that time frame, and then donate $20 million to Black community causes. Any thoughts on this initial? Because the next one I have more to say about, but
no, I mean I think my thoughts are this is that. What do you got next? Before I say this.
That's it, Lauren. I guess.
Okay.
I guess it's the same thing, but I guess I can.
Okay.
I can go ahead and just. Get
So my thoughts are this. I mean, if you're gonna make these statements, right? You need to be living that. You're gonna talk the talk. You need to be walking the walk. Mm-hmm. Don't just make these PR statements to save face in this time, but then be just behind the veil of your public relations or department or whatever, right? Behind all of that, be the complete opposite of what your statement is that you're putting out there. So if you're making a statement saying, "Hey, we stand with Black people, we support Black people, your lives matter," so forth, so on, right? That needs to be reflected in the amount of Black and Latino or people of color that your company has representing them. You know what I'm saying? And very, I'll say a very surface level, I guess, plan of that is just demographically, whatever the makeup is, your hiring, the demographics of your employee population, your executive board should all reflect that. So if you're in an area that is, I understand like black people, African Americans represent roughly 13-14% in the U.S. So knowing that, if you got, 10, one CEO, and under the CEO, there's 6 or 7 C-suite positions, and then under that there's, another 10 or 15, 20 executive, high-ranking executives or whatever. 14% of that. I don't care. If 50% of that population I say 50, but if there's a certain percentage of that population is women, fucking women need to be on that board. They need to be there. They need to be represented, and that goes for all colors and creeds. I think you have to take into account that when you start talking this diversity and inclusion shit, you can't just say, "Oh, we value diversity," and then your entire executive board, your entire C-suite staff, your board of directors is all white men with 1 or 2 white women sprinkled in there because they don't represent the population of thought or the equity of thought that like the larger body of minorities or people of color represent. You have dumb shit all the time where, like, how often do you get like Black History Month and it's like we're gonna serve fried chicken, and it's just like,
yeah. So moving on to the Estee Lauder one, and this is why I wanted this to, because I kind of have a different take on this one, but essentially the employees of Estee Lauder are upset with the heir, Ronald Lauder, and they want him removed from the board because he are behind his more than $1.6 million that he donated to various Trump entities over the course of the last 4 years or so. And so they had they want him replaced. And in return, they didn't replace him, but they pledged to hire more African Americans to at the very least do kind of what you said, meet the population, like at least meet that, like so there at least be 13-14% of their overall workforce, and then they pledged to more than double their sourcing from black sellers, which I thought would be pretty significant, or at the very least sound significant, because you don't know how much they actually are sourcing from them now. Because they go for like 2% to 4%, like
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But I mean, at any rate, I
think it matters more in that instance to me what the output is from the black sources. So if their 2% represents, let's say 60% of everything that they've been outsourcing, then doubling that for them is pretty big, right? That's a lot more output for them.
True.
But so there's a different way to look at that. Just another perspective.
That is true. I give you that. And then they also pledged to donate $10 million to racial injustice organizations. So I guess the reason why this one did kind of stick with me a bit is because company man, he do what he want with his money. Now, on one hand, I do believe, like, for instance, you and I, we were patrons of Estee Lauder and didn't like that. We can make him feel the pain by saying, I ain't buying your shit.
Yeah.
But, like, if you work for him, that's a decision that you kind of made to work for him.
Yep.
And I thought that was rather bold.
And you can quit.
yeah. Yes. I thought it was rather bold for them to ask for that behind such a political type thing.
You can fucking quit. You can always quit, and I don't want to make it sound like, I'm on the other side. I kind of agree with you on this one, is that, we all sign our name on that dotted line when we accept that position.
Yes.
So there's some things that come with that. And then also just from a business standpoint, sometimes you just gotta, like, sometimes when politicians change, like the favor for your business changes, and it's like you gotta put a little money out there to make sure that like, hey, rules and regulations stay the same so we can continue to grow and hire more people and continue to make money.
And also that you make sure you keep that access.
Yeah.
You want to be able to, if you need to talk to the right person
Absolutely.
in that power, they still have a reason to like pick up the phone like, oh fuck, you did give me $1 million.
So I'm not saying that to say, you absolutely have to.
And I'm not saying he's a good guy.
Yeah, no. I'm not. I don't know the guy. I don't care. Based off what you just told me happened to him, I don't give a shit.
Like they may have actual other reasons for him, like not liking him. You know what I'm saying? But like the donation piece, that's what really drove you. I mean, if that's really it.
There's a lot of that all over the place, though. You got to look at lobbyists, man. People, they're literally, companies hire people to just lobby for certain things. It don't matter who's in the office. There's somebody to make sure that rules and regulations are in their favor. Whether it's Democrat, whether it's Republican, they're going to send somebody to, hey, we need this. What is it going to take for us to get this? It's going to take this money donated to this fund. Here's a fucking check. Right, so we can continue making money. So what folks that are upset about that have to understand is that, if you want to live, if you want to, what is that phrase? You live by that sword, you die by that sword. Mm-hmm. Live by the sword, die by the sword. So what I mean in this instance is that if people take that kind of moral ground with business and say we're not going to, straddle the fence so that we can take advantage of whatever the political climate is, then you have to deal with the fallout from that within the business. So if, say, for instance, if you're in the auto industry and, like right now Trump is saying, oh, we don't want all this metal from China or whatever, right? And so now it's like, or I'm going to flip that situation a little bit because it makes the example a little easier. Let's say Trump's stance was we need to bring in more metal from China, right? And your company is donating money so that he does not do that. That's keeping jobs local and keeping jobs in the community. Now, if you take a stance where, no, I don't want you donating shit to that motherfucker, right? He's a piece of shit. Don't support him at all. You need to take a firm stance against him. Then, okay. Now, when he starts outsourcing and bringing in more of this metal from China, now the firms here locally don't have the same output. So jobs are going to be lost and there's going to be fallout here. And just understand that may be a consequence of certain actions like that. So I can understand from a business standpoint, playing both sides, just so your business can continue to grow and to expand and make more money and so forth and so on. And I can also understand people not wanting somebody to have any ties to a person like Trump. But you got to deal with consequences, man. We're adults, we're adults out here. And if that's the stance you want to take, then okay.
But I thought it was bold, and apparently it worked. They got something out of it. Not exactly what they wanted, but they got something out of it.
They got a guy removed, but they didn't get no money back.
No, they didn't. He didn't get removed. He's still on the board, but the concessions was we're going to hire more diversity, more blacks to the parity of the population.
Okay, but what does that do as far as donating money to somebody? His money is still in
They wanted him removed. It didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But the company, to try to, I guess, horse trade, it's like, we'll give you that. We're also double sourcing to black sellers and then donate $10 million to Injustice.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
But the guy's still on the board.
Yeah, I think it's great that they put it out there that they want what they want, and I'm going to take the side on this argument for the sake of time and say that they thought about what the fallout might be and they're okay with that.
We talked about it. There's the white sector is fairly saturated, and
well, that's my overall belief with why all these companies are doing that shit. And I didn't know. That's why I was asking you what's next, because I didn't want to give that too prematurely.
Este Lauder is in that skin care, hair care, life care type thing.
Yep. So the theory that we spoke about offline.
Talk directly about the Walmart aisle.
Yeah. So my stance on this and what Ivy's referring to is with all these companies making these statements before we hit the record button, we were talking and my theory is this is that a lot of these big fucking companies have completely saturated the white consumer. They've completely saturated them there, and there is no growth within that community anymore. And what they're finding is that they're the I don't know whether we can lump Black and Latino, but the minority minority
they were underserved
pocketbook is vast and wide, and there is money to be had there if you cater to minorities, to people of color, and the consumers there. So the example I gave you before this was just hair care and not just hair care, skin care, bath, personal hygiene, I guess products, hygiene products. And right now I'm noticing because I went and bought some, I don't know shit about hair care and none of that, right? So
I don't know enough.
I bought some fucking Head and Shoulders royal oils, right? Because it's like, okay, they putting oils and shit in there for people with like, for our hair textures, and like they're catering to us. And I thought like, okay, well maybe that was about time. Maybe they had this cooking for a while, but then I noticed Old Spice body wash infused with shea butter. And I'm like, wait a minute.
What you know about shea butter?
Wait a goddamn minute. The fuck does Old Spice know about some goddamn shea butter? The straw that's gonna break the horse's back is if Irish Spring.
Yes.
If fucking Irish Spring comes out with some shea butter, it's clear as day at that point. Because that fucking formula been the same, the scent been the same.
Yeah.
Since as
Probably
far as
for 100 years.
I can't recall it ever smelling different.
Yeah.
It's been the same soap as long as I've been alive. If they come out with a shea butter option, it's exactly that, bro. It's that the market is saturated and they're looking to grow and expand, and they can't do that without the black dollar. They can't do that without the Latino dollar, and that's what it is. And they have to make these statements in favor and in support of black communities, because if they don't, who knows how much money they have invested into research and development of these new products, right? And if they come out and they make a bold stance like, we believe all lives matter, and then they lose that projected, revenue they were expecting to bring in from these new products, I don't want to say fuck. I'm trying to be better about my use of choice vocabulary words on this platform, but it's going to cripple them, and depending on how much they invested there, and it might not be, I'm not talking bankruptcy, but if you invested $250 million, into the development and the rollout, exactly. Your share price is going to take a dive.
Like it.
You're going to have to rebuild. You're going to have to recover $250 million over, 3-4 years. It's going to be some changes to operations. You're going to have to lay off some people, reduce operations, increase prices on your products. It's going to be some changes that's going to have to happen.
But I think to kind of piggyback off what you said, my analogy was the Walmart analogy. And in that instance, retail as large as Walmart can push brands to do shit because they need it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, for instance, in that instance, I could recall when I was growing up, in order for us to get our products, we had to go to the beauty shop. You know what I'm saying? To get it. We couldn't get it from Walmart.
Couldn't get that damn lustrous at Walmart.
Now you walk in at, like, over the last, I'll say 10 years now, but now you go into Walmart and there's an aisle. There's an aisle for, like the Latin goods.
Ethnic hair, yep.
There's an aisle for the ethnic hair and skin care. And none of that was there 15 years ago.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? You had to go to a specialty store. That's why you went to like the Albertsons.
I'd say 5 years.
Or the Publix. Maybe not the Latin. Like, we even have Latin. Like, when I say we, I'm talking about Louisiana. So
that's what LA stand for.
Even true.
Yes.
I've seen
but
that.
now maybe for that, yes. But like, I can recall about 2010, 2011, they started having like a bit of an aisle, maybe not a full aisle, but it was like a half an hour. Was like, oh,
You talking food or you talking
skin and hair care.
Okay.
Nah,
but I'm seeing when I say within last 5 years, I'm saying I go to Target. And Target has an entire
I agree with that.
just for that. It's like
I agree with that.
Ethnic hair care products right here, and whereas before, you might have one hairspray or something like that buried in a sea of like Pantene Pro V and regular Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, but a company like Walmart can, dictate these companies to make those products available to fill up their shelves because they don't want to miss out on that market.
Yep. And
in order to get it, they got to have the product, so they can get these larger brands that necessarily wouldn't have originally had it to start looking to the market. Well, is there a market there for it? And then after they do the research, they're like, actually,
boy, Walmart know they market.
There is.
You go to
they know they market, but then Head and Shoulders and Old Spice, they have to do their own market.
Yeah, when the revenues run flat for about 5-6 years in a row, and it's like, all right, so what are we missing? And then they do, reach out and do a survey of the culture, and they realize Cantu and all these black and Latino women done went natural, and it's like we ain't putting gel in our hair no more. We ain't doing this. We ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? They want the natural look. They don't want the creamy crack. They don't want that no more.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They ain't hot combing no more. You know what I'm saying? They might still be doing that. I don't know.
Hot combing is a part of natural.
That's heat damage though.
But sometimes they want to.
They need a little something. A little something.
But I think there's a way to do it where it doesn't damage it like that.
I am not the person to ask.
Nah, me neither.
I don't know.
But I know.
I ain't seen the back of a ear being burnt in a while.
I know that's just a part of the natural. Like every once in a while, you just want to have that look, so you just hot iron it, hot press it or whatever, and then after a few days you'll wash it and it goes back.
Hey, let us know in the comments if we don't know what the hell we're talking about right now.
Yes. Matter of fact, that's gonna be a poll question for the week.
Do we know anything about hair care? I'm using Head and Shoulders Royal Oils though. Let me know is there a better shampoo for black men with coarse curly hair?
I currently use
an occasional dandruff.
It's a bit between that. What is it? Jamaican.
I got some Jamaican tingle.
Jamaican castor oil.
Yeah, I had some of that till my kids.
So I got some of that.
You use that to wash your hair though?
Well, they got a shampoo and conditioner.
Okay.
They got a shampoo and conditioner, and I got the mask. I use the mask every day. And then I also got another shampoo called Craw ID.
I ain't got none of that.
I like it, but it's just
I'm a real nigga. I use whatever my girl use. Whatever's in that shower, I use.
I got you, baby.
And I think I used like 10 times more than she used. There's no doubt about she might use 3 pumps on her whole head of hair.
She's mad at you too.
And I'm coming in that mug, 10 pumping it out.
Hey, but I ain't gonna lie to you. So that Jamaican castor, it's like I got it from Sam's. But so it's a big one. So I'll be in that doing the same thing.
I'm like, that ain't enough. Conditioner? Is conditioner supposed to lather? Because I'd be working up a lather with the conditioner, boy. I don't think it is, but it don't feel right if it don't.
Yeah, you use a lot more of it to make it lather too.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
And it's wash and cut day, so I'm gonna be washing this mug later. Wash a little man hair and then get him off the bed, and I gotta cut this thing. So, all right, man. Well, yeah. Let us know. Do we know anything about hair care? We completely out of pocket even talking about this. Am I using way too much of my girl's shampoo and conditioner? And if so,
yes.
What is the appropriate amount to use for a man with medium length hair? I'm locking it, bro.
Are you gonna lock it up now?
Again, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't got to take I locked it before we bought the house. So when I was down at Turkey Point, my hair was locked.
Okay.
But
I must didn't see you in that time frame.
Nah, I was in Miami. I was in Homestead. But it's weird, man. I got like this, it's almost like a phobia. You know what I'm saying? I was raised where it's like you have to look, you got to look this way to be presentable. And
you about to bring that up. Okay, go ahead.
It's
You want to talk about that?
We might as well. I don't know what you're referring to right now, but
literally, didn't you send me something about unprofessional hairstyles?
Oh shit! Yeah.
This morning.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I was like, I thought.
But that's kind of yeah. We could go into that. So yeah. So that actually is part of why, because it was like, and this ain't to the fault of nobody, right? But I was just always told by elders and the people in the neighborhood that were, a little more affluent or well off, and like, you don't want to look a certain way, you don't want to look this way, right? Because they won't hire you, they won't do this, they won't do that. And understandably, their advice was rooted in they just want to see me be able to get on and to
trying to mitigate those circumstances.
Yes, absolutely, right? So they're not telling me don't love myself, don't they're not telling me think less of the qualities that I have, right? They're not telling me that. They're just telling me that somebody might. Yes. And in that instance, it may affect your livelihood. So I've always had like this almost phobia, man, of my hair and just how I can wear it and what I can do with it. So I've been very restricted to like a Caesar or a little mini fro every now and then. And even when I first started doing like the fro hawk and stuff, like that was like
I was about to say, dude, I'm still uncomfortable with what I have now.
Yeah, I was like so hesitant and shaking in the barber chair.
So I think I might have told you this before. I definitely know I talked to Ivan about it, but and Regis, young Regis, but within the first year of me being on the job, I got a similar cut, basically the same cut, and I about 6 weeks into it, I distinctly remember one of the directors coming up to me and stopping me and like, man, I really like your hair. It's a sharp hair. And instantly I was like, is he fucking with me?
Yeah. It makes you feel weird. It's like, man, I didn't
cut this shit off now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not looking for that type of
attention. Or because it feels like an underhanded compliment. It feels like I'm taking notice of this, and if it gets any more, like if you do any more to it than this, like you come in with a part in it or something, like okay, that's a bit much.
Yeah. But at the same time, but I will say that's what I guess ultimately in the last year or so when I went back to this cut was because basically the white boys have a similar cut, and they get parts right here with the comb over, and it's basically the same fucking cut.
It is the same cut.
And they'll be looked at, oh, that's just sharp. But mine just looked at like, or at least the feeling you get is that, oh, that's that urban stuff.
Yeah, I know how I feel about that fucking word.
Yeah.
Even though it's like they took our cut, and because you're more comfortable with their hair texture, it's more appropriate.
Yes.
It's professional. It's clean looking and this and that. So, yeah, man. So to go back, just back in time 2 years. So I was down at Homestead, and I'm eating lunch, and I seen a dude down there had dreads was long, man, and my hair was actually a little bit shorter than it is now. It's actually pretty long. Shit come down to like right here right now, but in the front. And I remember it. I just remember thinking like, man, I'm gonna lock this shit, man. I'm gonna ask bro when he come back from lunch where he got it locked. And he told me, he gave me his homegirl name. I was at Homestead, so she was up in I think Kendall. Okay. So I rolled up to her. Her name was Rhonda. Shout out to Rhonda. And Rhonda locked, and she locked it. And it was like, and it's a very weird period because it doesn't lock instantly. And I have this hair where, for some reason, I don't know, man, my hair just likes to be difficult. It want to do what it want to do. So it's locked, but it's still kind of frizzy. And some parts would lock, some parts wouldn't. Some was shorter than the other because when you fade your hair, obviously it's going to be shorter, closer to the fade than it is in the middle and shit. So it's like, so the locks was real short over here and all that. So I saw bro again. I forgot his name, but shout out to him. And I was like, yeah, man, see, I'm already on edge about doing it, but the fact that it don't look how I want it to look and all that. And he was like, look, man, I'm going to tell you like this. He was like, if you can't grow him, sew him. And I'm like, wait, what? Yes. Nigga said, yeah, bro. He said, man, call Rhonda and tell her, put a couple, you could buy like the actual hair or whatever, and you could put like it's almost like extensions or whatever. So he's like, on the ones you don't like, just tell her, sew in the few extra ones or whatever. So I went back to her again, had her sew in the few just around the edge so everything was uniform and it looked a little bit better. And I'm like, okay,
If you can't grow him.
if you can't grow him, sow him, bro. When bro told me that, I'm like, wait, what? And that's how Kodak went from nothing to something real quick. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It gets you past the ugly stage. The mini fro has an ugly stage till you got some length on it. We just have ugly stages of our hair where it's uncomfortable for us. It's not ugly, but we call it the ugly stage. So I did all that. And then, so I'm buying the house. So I send my ID, right? You got to send your ID and shit to get the mortgage. And they're like, well, your ID expires in 3 days. I'm like, yeah, it does, because my birthday's in 3 days. So use it now, and we won't have this problem. Needless to say, the fucker, they start hitting these roadblocks or whatever, and they can't use my ID. So then it comes down to where I'm still uncomfortable with my hair. It's my birthday, and I need to submit my mortgage papers and my ID and all this to fucking, so my house, so I can close on the house on time. So cut it out. I literally just got off night shift. I'm at home. I drove up to Boynton. I'm at home, and I get the call, and they're like, we can't use this ID. Is there any way you can get a new ID? And I'm like, yeah, I can go to the DMV right there. I can go and get a new ID. I'll get a new ID, and I'll send it to you. And I'm sitting there in the mirror, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, do I want this on my ID? Grab some scissors. Bro, I spent like $200, maybe $300 with Rhonda between hair and getting this shit put in and getting it dreaded and all that. To 2 weeks later, because I'm trying to buy this house to cut off. I got pictures of the shit on the floor where I cut my shit and ran in. This ID picture is literally an hour away. You can see I still got the kind of scraps here. I literally just cut it off with the scissors first and then hit it with like a 1 guard or a 2 or something. And then ran in and took this ID picture. This was moments after I cut my shit off.
Well, at least you were smiling, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt, you know. But, so that little story, you know, it segues us into, I guess, that article that I sent you. And I thought that article, I'm going to look for the picture real quick, too, while I'm talking. But the article was... It wasn't an article. It was somebody took a picture, basically, and they basically emailed Google executives and wanted answers as to why, when I Google search unprofessional hairstyles, why does nothing but pictures of black people pop up? And, you know, again, everything right now is kind of racially charged, so I immediately kind of got in that bag. Yes. And I was just like, oh, these motherfuckers at Google, boy, ooh-wee. So... rather than, you know, just settling on the laurels of just, you know, my initial reaction or initial response, I said, you know what, I'm going to read this article. Let me find the article on the Google exec saying why this is the way it is. So I Googled that shit. And long story short, basically, it's because of how many articles people of color are writing about why they feel or how they feel that their hair is perceived as unprofessional. So it's a lack of us understanding how to operate like SEO, which is search engine optimization and shit like that. So it's like
algorithm.
It pops up because we are writing so many articles and tagging them and saying, you know, my coworker or my job considers this hair unprofessional, considers this hairstyle unprofessional. And because the articles, the way Google's algorithms and things look at the articles, it's seeing this picture is on a page that says this hair is unprofessional 10 times or something like that. So we literally are, you know, opening our mouth and inserting foot in a way because we're writing the articles to where they're almost, you know, how they do with sound bites, and we want something that's jarring, that catches the attention of the reader. But in the same token, we are shooting ourselves in the foot because we are the ones tagging those images, or the way the search engine algorithms look at the image. It's saying, hey, this image is on a page that has unprofessional hair this many times. So this image must be of unprofessional hair. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And I think we need to have a call to action out there where we need to maybe go back and we need like a search search engine optimization, like SEO professional, to maybe just kind of consult and just offer up some advice. So how can we make articles like this? Because there's a valid point, right? It is a very valid point, because clearly you've experienced something, I've experienced something with just how we cut our hair and how we walk around kind of on eggshells, even with just like, it's a fade, it looks good, it's clean, but it's just like, but is it too, am I giving them too much blackness, right? Am I giving them too much culture to where it's making them uncomfortable?
Yes.
To the point to where now do I have to question, is my profession, is my career going to be affected by this because I'm just being a black man, right? Or a black woman. So I think, to the authors of those articles, I think they need to, there needs to be a sit down, or maybe we can fucking reach out to an SEO optimization person. And if it's $100, $200, I'll put it up and say, hey, what can we do to where we can still write these articles and get this point out there, but we're not shooting ourselves in the foot by labeling our own pictures, right?
Unprofessional.
Unprofessional, right?
Is that in? But would that be something that also fall on Google and their algorithms? Because they're pulling it. Can't they do something on their end? Like optimize their algorithms, like they're supposed to be doing. Supposedly,
maybe, and that may be a question, again, to ask the search engine optimization guy, because the way it works, in doing the FBA stuff on Amazon, I've seen some of this, is that you just have to tag a certain word. You want to tag a certain word a lot. So whether it be in the title, whether it be in the picture description, whether it be in the description of the product, whether it be, you want the same thing. If you're selling, bobblehead, Black Panther bobblehead dolls, it's going to, if it's your brand, it's brand, Black Panther, bobblehead, and then maybe some synonyms that go with bobblehead. And then in the picture, T'Challa bobblehead. You're going to repeat these words so that when the search engine is looking for that word, it's going to say, hey, this word popped up X amount of times on this page as opposed to one time on that page. So it's really, again, it's a catch-22. It's that maybe the title is all you need to have, is that, unprofessional, stigmas on unprofessional hair, and leave it at that. But then when you go into the pictures, and this is just me speculating on what I think the solution is, but I think that, there's some value here, and I think we really need to look at putting this out there. When they go into the picture, when you add a picture description and a caption and all that, we need to say, image of professional lock style for black men or for men of color. That's how we need to label it. And we need to change that narrative to where we're not saying unprofessional hair a million times in the article. We need to say it one time in the title. Yep. And then, so here, we're going to give you 1,000 examples of professional hair for people of color. Professional hair for people of color. Example of professional hair for people of color, lock style, fade style, Caesar style. But that repeated, kind of phrase needs to be professional hair for men of color, women of color, professional hairstyle, instead of the opposite, which I get what we're doing. We're trying to draw the attention to it and say, hey, Google, this is bullshit, because we think it's fueled by some racist behind the scenes kind of shit. And it may be. Sometimes right?
There's some bias, they keep bringing up, like the Amazon facial recognition has the known hole with black faces.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, they can't figure that out.
Yeah, and like I say, it's a valid point. I'm not saying the point's not valid, but I don't want us to shoot ourselves in the foot while we're making these valid points, because it's the Kaepernick taking a knee and but the flag, and it's but this, but you did it to the flag, and it's like, okay, so this is just one of those things that it can easily be circumvented and pointed back to us. So if we say, okay, well, hey, your algorithm looks for repetitive phrases, well, I tag that picture as professional. I tag that as professional. I said everything in this article about what we're doing is professional. Only mentioned unprofessional once, which was a catchphrase in the title. Yep. So why are they still popping up that way?
Or maybe a couple times in the article, but not tagged to the picture.
Yep, but we need something there, man, so that we can get that so we can get that all that going. And make sure that we're accurately represented on Google on some of these searches, and that we're updating and filling these things out, because it was a very good article. I mean, and the person and again, it's a valid complaint.
True. I mean, we just discussed it.
But let's not be contributing to it. Is all I'm getting at. Here we go. It's around here somewhere. That's Manatee. So it was right after this. So yeah, what else you got, man?
All right, man. So again, this episode is brought to you by Trap Hamilton. His latest release, No Effin'.
No FNs, baby.
No FNs, baby. Go check that out.
I'm ready. Check it out. Bump it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Bump my boy, man.
Check that out. Check that out. With that said, man, since our last episode, yeah, I never seen that. Since our last episode, the NBA has voted to come back, and the Player Association agreed to move forward with stipulations about certain other aspects of it are still up for negotiations. But for all intents and purposes, they voted to move forward with restarting the season in July, at the end of July. With that said, over the last week, it seems like there's been a little more unrest within the ranks of the rank and file of the players. Specifically, it seems like the more superstar players are kind of feeling like they're feeling apprehensive of restarting the season. Namely Kyrie Irving, who the other night, Friday night, led a call with apparently 80 players. Initial reports were that they were going to have upwards of 200, but I guess they lowered the number or whatnot. But at any rate, on the call, they discussed several things. Basically, they're uncomfortable with kind of the setup at Orlando, the limitations per se. Also, some feel like going back to, essentially the league is exploiting black men to take the light off of these current protests and what's going on in the black community, which, I get it. I mean, if the pandemic hadn't happened and baseball and basketball would continue like they continue, it's a possibility that a lot of what we see today wouldn't have happened, or at least the consistency of it. But there has been, people on both sides. Like, for instance, Kyrie Irving, your boy Dwight Howard also came out, in favor of not moving forward. But then there's also other guys.
Dwight said he don't want to go forward?
Yeah.
Man, he's done.
He agreed with Kyrie, shall I say. And then there's other guys that feel like, coming back could help the cause, in the sense that they could use those funds to help fund these type of different,
LeBron is, that meme when JR held on to the ball when the time was running out? That's what LeBron's doing right now with Dwight.
Yeah, well, hey, man.
That's LeBron. LeBron want this ring.
I just thought I'll bring that to you because I know you're the basketball guy, and I wanted to just get your I'm sure you heard all this.
Yep.
And just what's your take? I mean, I for one hope they do come back, but for all intents and purposes, I'm usually on the player side. So if they decide not to,
I was honestly before I heard when I first heard the initial rumors of like Kyrie, I think he was quoted saying something like, "I'm not with all the systemic racism and all that stuff." Like I didn't really understand his stance in that, so I was for them coming back then. Like it just, I don't know, it just kind of seemed contrived what he was saying, just kind of like a big statement, but no direction. But then I heard Steven Jackson's statement, Stat 5, and he was saying how, yes, on his statement where he was saying how now ain't the time to be playing basketball. It's like we don't need any distractions from what's out there right now, right? Right now, all the attention is on these organizations and on these companies to make the changes that we require. There's no distractions in sports or entertainment or nothing like that. Once I heard that, I just kind of thought, I think I heard that, and then my iPhone went off, and it was like This is how much time you spend on your phone every day. And it struck a chord, bro, that we are literally constantly consumed with entertainment. We are constantly, you know, constantly.
Would this have happened if we wouldn't have the pandemic and have nothing else to see?
Yeah, and we still have unlimited access via YouTube and Netflix and whatever else. But it just goes to show that, like, you know, I like to sit and think what he said, and it's like, you know, would we be going this hard had there been, you know, college, you know, spring football games or baseball playing or basketball and hockey in the playoffs right now? And it's like, honestly, the honest question is, or the honest answer to me is no. And not for myself personally, but I mean, all the white people we have out supporting and kind of the positions that they're taking right now. I just think that, you know, are you going to watch the playoff game? You going to watch the Lakers going, you know, 7 with the Rockets, or are you going to go protest? And I can just hear that argument that, like, it's game 7, man. Like, come on, man. It's Bron. It's game 7. This is like season 17. Like, I can hear it. Where right now there's only but so many, I'll call them excuses, right? Whereas it's just like, man, I got family, I got kids at the house I got to take care. I would go, but I'm not taking my kids out there to get shot with a rubber bullet. Like that, you see that to me is a different level of excuse. That's more, I wouldn't even call that an excuse. That's just like priority. Like, I support, but I can't put my kids in harm's way in favor of my support, right? That's what I hear more so now than, yeah, but we were gonna go to, you know, we was gonna go to Twin Peaks,
baby.
Yeah, we was gonna go to TP, man. Hey,
that's the spot, baby. I was there last night.
Bet you did.
Yes.
But, you know, so I'm in agreement with them now. Now that I heard how Stack put it, it's like, nah, man, take this time to, like, really. I don't like using this idiom, this phrase, keep your foot on their neck, for obvious reasons, for contextual reasons with what's going on with what happened with George Floyd. But I think now is the perfect time. Let's keep applying that pressure. Let's keep applying it. Let's apply it through these means that get all these ratings. You know what I'm saying? You're talking to NBA playoffs, you're getting millions and millions of viewership and ratings per playoff game. You know, especially in a game with like somebody like a LeBron or a Harden or whatever, the viewership is through the roof. So while we have the attention of all those consumers, and more so than the attention, the participation of them, I think we need to take advantage of that, and we need to keep driving. And the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, you know, these organizations that have people of color as their primary means of generating revenue, like, this is the time to make that stance and to make it clear that, like, hey, we support the players, and if the players feel this way, then their opinions, their stances are valued, and we support them, and this is what we're going to do in support of them and their communities, which are clearly hurting. And if they don't do that, then your statement is just as good as Roger Goodell's statement to me.
Yes.
It just is what it is. Like, you can say, oh, I've recognized this and that. Yeah, but you got a 4-year track record that where the same shit was told to you and you didn't recognize that. Okay. So I'm not saying that he can't come around, but I'm just saying right now it's like, okay, you made a statement, but you're over here, and to get good with me is over here. Okay. So I need to see a consistent track record of you showing up to build that equity before I forget about 2016 and 2017 and 2018 and the tryout with Kaepernick that was botched because you wanted to control the narrative of all that.
Let's hold off on getting too deep in it because that was going to be the last. I was waiting. I was leading into that, baby. That was coming next.
I haven't seen that paper, by the way, guys. I have no idea. We said we was going to shoot from the hip today. So I'm shooting, and I'm going to shoot straight after this.
But that's why I was like, we're going to be good. Good. You're going to shoot from the hip, but we'll be good. But anyway, man, on as far as like the NBA, I guess the final top. I mean, no moving forward.
No. I mean, if the players, if it's not unanimous, and
I mean, So I think it's going to be not. And when you say not unanimous, but there's going to be a plurality to move forward.
Well,
because
then I'd be against it.
That'll be because that was another thing that came out of that call. Like the call is set up so that everyone on there is on the same same footing as far as being able to speak their piece, right? But there was like instances that the younger players were showing that they're willing to give deference to the superstar, like your boy in Orlando, Mobama. He basically said like they kind of whatever not necessarily whatever you guys want to do with, but they are deferring.
Yeah, I got you.
To the older guys, which kind of defeats the call as far as saying you can come on there and say whatever you feel. Because like if you feel like you need to, like with our hair walk on eggshells, but then you're not gonna really say what you mean or how you feel. Yeah.
I guess for me it's like this. I look at it and I try to internalize and make things personal to me and take the analysis off of another person right now. But like if I had to explain to a white coworker right now how it feels to see the news that people are still being lynched and people are saying that it's suicide, and it's like, okay. And to see that, like, to be a person of color right now you're on edge. Like, you don't know if, like, I was jogging, you know what I'm saying? And now I'm literally like, I jog alone and through some back roads and all that stuff where it's pretty dark. I take my knife and my flashlight and stuff, and I'm questioning, like, should I be jogging? Should I be taking care of myself? You know what I mean? Like, those guys got to deal with that shit too. Mm-hmm. Those guys are probably bigger targets. They're probably the folks that if somebody was trying to make a statement, you know what I'm saying?
What kind of folks were they? I mean, when you say that,
whoever is lynching people and hanging people.
Gotcha.
If they're trying to make a statement, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think LeBron hasn't upped security at his house and his security detail when he's moving around? Probably. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to say, hey, go back to work and operate as normal, but the rest of your life isn't normal. It's crazy. It's crazy right now. So, no, I would say, no, I don't support them coming back right now until something's got to change. And I don't know what that something is. I mean, like, we gave an hour or so of what we think it could be.
But so even with that, I mean, September, October, they're going to be back anyway.
Maybe not.
I mean, they're going to be like.
I got RSVPs to weddings in October. I still ain't RSVP'd. I might not go to
the thing about it is. So here's what I say about at least that piece of what I just said is, it's like going back to business. Like, sooner or later, we're going to be back in the office. It's coming.
But I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying with that, I don't disagree with that. They're going to try to push that, is what I'm saying.
But I would imagine that only happens if they play. If they don't play, well, they've been off since fucking April. Well, yeah, since March.
But okay, so this is what I will say about that is that if they insist and push these players to do that, given that certain players have expressed that they do not want to go back, you've identified, in my eyes, you've identified, the level of which you are tolerant of our blackness. You've made it very plain and clear to me that you support me to this point. You support me up to a point. And it's crazy to say that, but in talking with some friends, some other friends of color, we expressed that we feel like with our white friends, there's a limit. There's a point to where my blackness becomes uncomfortable for you. Now, are you going to double down in your statement that you support me and back me in me telling you that something makes me uncomfortable and I don't want to do it? Or are you going to coerce me into doing what you want me to do because you don't understand what it's like to carry a pistol just to go jogging because somebody might pull up on you with shotgun in a pickup truck and accuse you of some shit that they have no evidence of. Or I'm out walking, just by myself downtown after I had a drink or something, and now next thing you know, I'm hanging from a tree in fucking downtown West Palm. And it's honestly, man, like it's shit like that where it's like, if you believe these stories, and if you really believe that the struggle is as real as we're saying the struggle is, then we're not saying that the shit won't come back ever. We're just saying now's not the time. We need you to advocate and to hold off and to maybe take some of your marketing budget which you ain't spent in the past couple of months, put some of these advertisements, run some of these advertisements, and advocate for us, and to show some of the grim details and some of the grim stories, and start,
I guess I'll play devil advocate in that, because while so in theory I agree. Like, I can see why coming back would distract, because like it doesn't seem like baseball coming back no time soon, and so you're really gonna have a run to basically September before there's any like real, mid-August, before there's any real sports going on. But at the same time, I mean, I can also take a look at like when we go back to work, or when the people go back to work, that you can say the same thing about them. Now I got to go to work in the morning.
And I do.
So now, I can't go to this rally because I was at work till 5. I got to run this errand. Got to make sure my kid got that. Now it's 9 o'clock. Got to make sure they eat. Got to get into bed.
I never said I thought differently about our company. So I feel the same fucking way.
But I'm not talking about specifically our company. I'm talking about the population, the general population in general.
Yes, and it applies to them as well.
So
it applies to them as well, bro. And I'm not asking for a free pass, but I'm asking for, like, as a black man, if you were to tell your manager, like, hey, I'm clocking out early because I want to go down and protest this, go down to one of these protests.
You're taking time.
You made your point very clear.
You're going to be taking time.
You made your stance very clear. Right? And that's come up on some calls where it's like, all right, is there anything we need to discuss? And it's just, people don't understand how just a simple statement of just saying all lives matter, how all of a sudden our entire working dynamic has changed, has shifted.
Someone to say that on your job? I'm sure.
They've said it in different ways. But yes.
Out there, yes.
But yes, in different ways, but they've said it. And it's like, it is what it is. Like, I hear the murmurs. I hear the talking in the hall and all that. And it's just, you've made it very clear. Now, just, I'm taking it dark again. If shit hits the fan, I know what side you're on.
Yes.
It just is what it is. Let me ask you something before you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Have you been getting like texts and emails from like white friends?
Yeah. I've been getting calls too.
What's that? How's that make you feel?
Well, I will say this.
And what did they say? Give me an example of what they said.
They just checking in on me, for the most part, checking in how you feeling, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? We'll get to talk about the protests and stuff, but I always, for all intents and purposes, I always knew they were kind of like, what people would call an ally. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you get to this point in life, particularly when you're dealing with people that's like out of state, it's not a whole lot of calls. There's a lot of text just like kicking up, and then maybe when you're in town, you reach out and you hang out. So to get the calls kind of like regularly over a period of time, it's just like, okay, you're serious. But I mean, I haven't had like uncomfortable conversations. I'll say that.
Okay.
About you?
Not one.
No. I haven't had any uncomfortable conversations.
No, I haven't got not one text.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. I had a few.
Not one text, not one call.
Mostly from like my business school guys. But I mean, I
went to business school too.
The
closest I got was a comment on that one picture I posted on Instagram where one young lady was saying how, I think she said like, I don't know, something like, I don't want to make it too like weird, but she was like, she loves me or something like that, but it's obviously like a friendly love, not.
Yeah.
But
she know you married.
Yeah, she's photographed my pregnant wife. So shout out to Steph. But so that I think that was her trying to initiate that, and that was her way of doing that gesture. But nobody else.
I would say that my man Regis, bro, he does not give a fuck about having those uncomfortable conversations, bro.
Neither do I.
Like, I just always, I admire, like, he's, like, there'll be times where I'm with his friends, like, and, when I say his, like, his coworkers and stuff, so it's, it's white boys. And, like, he has those like, and he, like, even I'll be like, I don't know if I would have said that. Like, I don't know if I went there with it, but I was like, fuck it though, man. Hey, this is, what I'm saying? But he's on it, man. So that, I will say, shout out to that boy. He, but he takes that mentality that, he owns it as far as like, hey, if you really my friend,
absolutely,
you got to know where I'm coming from.
Absolutely. Me and Champ used to say that in the office all the time. It's like, when them guys start asking questions about, what our life is like, I'm not watering it down. I'm not watering nothing down for y'all boys, and there's times where just comments, we could, if you're talking cars, right? Talking cars, and then these guys
that comes up in that conversation too.
And so they justify lifting a truck 10 feet and putting monster truck tires on it, but then when we put 30s on something, okay.
We've had that conversation. Like, that conversation is, especially,
Why do you? It doesn't make any sense. It don't make sense to lift a truck fucking 7 feet in the air and put monster truck tires on it either. You done took 18 mile per gallon, now you get 7. Like, your torque ratio, I can go technical with you. Speed, torque, power, all of that decreases. What is the purpose of it? You do it because you like to. You do it because you want to, because you can.
And it's more acceptable.
Yeah, and in your culture, that's the shit. And in our culture, throwing thuddies on that thing with some more rubber bands around it.
But at any rate, he'll bring up, like, they'll be willing to spend all kinds of money on, like, boats. But if someone want to buy, a Vet or a Porsche, then it's like, well, what do you need that for? What the fuck you need that $100,000 boat for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what you need that for?
They don't need it. It's not a need.
It's
not a need. It's a want. I'm doing it because I wanted to do it. Just like you wanted to put that in a dual outboard.
Exactly.
I want to put it in some rich Corinthian leather and German
like,
engineering.
He also bring up like he's into watches. They be talking shit about the watches. It's like, why are you like? I would tell you, like, obviously we were raised differently. Like, culturally we were raised differently because, like, man, I never forget. I was probably going to high school, sometime in high school, and my pop was like, you don't worry about how another man spend his money. Unless he asks you for advice.
Unless he owe you money.
Yeah. But if he's on his own, he don't owe you money or nothing like that, like, yo, you don't worry how another man spend his money. Like, so why are these people worried about, particularly, the minorities, how they spend their money?
Kev on stage has a skit on that, man. He was like, I can see clear as day that white people was never taught to mind their business.
Yes.
He said half of these instances where y'all calling the cops on us and getting into these altercations, he said it's just because y'all ain't minding y'all business.
Minding your goddamn
white
business.
Lady mad at the Latino girl whose kids were riding the power wheel in the park. Why is this kid riding this car? Mind your business. That kid ain't hit you. The kid ain't come close to you.
Yes.
Mind your business.
Yes.
Mind your business.
Shit. Well,
it just. I don't know, man. But so he not with he not at the company no more.
Nah. He got actually a promotion, and he'll be moving up to New York for a little while.
Promotion, but not in the company.
No.
Okay.
With an outside company.
Okay, for sure.
He'll be heading the desk now.
It's a coincidence that both Regises are from Houston.
No, but so I guess technically, old Regis is from Mississippi. he just came from Houston.
He lived in
Regis, young Regis is third wall through and through. Third wall through and through. But at any rate,
in another life,
it was this planned with you being the cool guy today?
Yes.
cool.
I mean, you got the glasses on, man. I mean, shit, right, baby? Was that planned?
Ain't not cool. I got a hat on because I ain't got a haircut. I got the shades on just feeling low. So
okay,
yeah,
I
it's
hear you.
what it is, man.
So the last topic of the day, and it'd probably be a quick one because you already basically kind of commented on it, but I was going to try to be funny with it. But anyway, the NFL's latest since our last podcast, Goodell's apology, which he stated, "We, the National Football League, condone racism and the systematic oppression of black people. We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to the NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. We, the National Football League, believe Black Lives Matter. I personally protest with you and want to be part of the much-needed change in the country. Without black players, there will be no National Football League. And the protests around the country are emblematic of the century of silence, inequality, and oppression of black players, coaches, fans, and staff." With that said, my man,
We having fun or
are you back?
no? No. No. Nigga said I protest with you. No, you haven't.
I think he went. I thought he was photoed somewhere out.
What that nigga sign said?
Hey, I'm not caping for him, but I saw him out.
Was he
somewhere.
with Cap?
No.
Is there a black owner in the NFL yet? The answer to all these questions
I
are no.
don't think so. There's a Brown.
Yes.
But you're right. So, but I guess he, I thought it was at least a step in the right direction. He's definitely admitting that he was wrong. But I think, I kind of echo the sentiments of a lot of people that since this statement came out that, on one hand, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but at the same time, you're saying this about, Cap. Like, you went all around it, but without acknowledging what Cap did. And, that's...
Or how you or the wrongdoing that you had with
Yes.
Cap.
So,
Or that you acknowledge that the kneeling was never about the flag.
Yes.
So, in that instance, again, he steps in the right direction, but it's just not where, I would like to see it.
I think it was a step down the 50-yard line. That's what I think. I think it was a very, very safe.
It
was very safe and vague and not specific.
Yeah, it definitely.
And which I understand. And given we are in times where you can say, oh well, I did this 4 times, and somebody's gonna be like, well, what? You didn't do it 5, and they're gonna get pissed. So you're pissing off the people that wanted you to do it 5 times. Like, we're in very sensitive times, and I understand that. But I think that, now's not time for a vague statement. Now's the time to be specific. Now's the time to say, the way we treated Cap, like there was no admission to any, all that NDA that Cap had to sign with a settlement. Like, he ain't going back to admit his faults through that, right? That's what it is. So that tells me that this thing is written, and it's worded pretty good, but it's rooted in ego. There's still ego all throughout that.
And he also had his hand forced.
Yeah.
A couple days earlier.
Yeah. So it is an attempt, and it is, a small step.
And actually, I guess apologize for jumping in, but it actually came about because essentially kind of like, I guess, the Addias and the Este Lauder thing, where it was employee of the NFL that works on like social media reached out to Michael Thomas to get that started because he was unhappy with the response that the league initially did. So I guess in that instance, if you can be the change in your company, if you're willing to step out on that ledge.
Do it. And I'm glad that he's the one issuing it. Because change starts at the top. So if you're going to set that example, then it's got to start at the top. So same way, the police chiefs, where all these instances where, we're saying, hey, you didn't need to use excessive force there, forcing all these police chiefs down. And if you can't do it, if you can't establish the culture and the cultural norms and what's going to be acceptable and unacceptable, then we'll get somebody that can. And I'm glad whoever's putting pressure on him, I don't know if it's internally or externally. I don't know if it's Jay-Z and Beyonce. I don't know who. But keep applying that pressure because it's, like I said, it's a small consolation. I'll take it, but what I really want to see is you can't wait. You're trying to wait Cap out, I guess, is like the art of war. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to defeat you. You can have better fighters, but if I can cut off food supplies and wait long enough, Cap won't be, in the position or he won't be able to perform. Yeah, so it's like, all right, so that's there. But admit that fault there. I know you signed the NDA. Well, Cap signed the NDA. So he can't go out and give his opinion of it. But you can say where you went wrong. You can say, hey, we were unable to see, through the perspective of somebody else for a moment in time. And it's like, now we understand. And some coaches are saying it, which is why I say Jerry Jones hasn't. He hasn't said shit. So again,
Jerry Jones said his boys was not going to kneel.
Yeah, yes.
So, but some coaches have come out and said, hey, yeah, I understand that the kneeling was never against the flag, and I will kneel with my players if they decide to kneel. Okay, where you at, Goodell? Still haven't heard you acknowledge that this shit was never about the flag, even though it was said repeatedly. Even though, yeah. Let me start. That's why the shades are on today.
We're going to get out of that, baby. In that instance, again, don't be a square. Hit that share. Like, thumbs up, love, subscribe, and notification buttons on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, under Hot Takes and Half Truth Podcast, Twitter and IG under @HT2Pod. And if you're truly new school, old school, you can email us at ht2pod@gmail.com. You can reach me directly at I am Ivy Joe.
You can follow your boy on IG and Twitter at JustKingin.
And I want to shout out to all the Yankee guys out there. It looks like you boys were also in the sign stealing ring.
Yes.
Come on over to this side of the table, baby. The seat's warm, baby. Come on in here. The water's warm. With that said, again, this episode brought to you by Trap Hamilton. No FNs. Go ahead, cop that on all your streaming.
Stream it.
All your streaming platforms out there. The cat got a good sound, man. So I enjoy it. We kind of listened to a few cuts before the podcast today. I enjoyed it. I'll be doing my part today. So you guys go out and do that. Anything else, my man?
No, that's it, man. Really, get knowledgeable in your area, your districts. Voting is coming up this year, man. We need everybody to get active. If you ain't registered to vote, register to vote.
Yes.
That was another topic I wanted to get into. I won't get into it now. Maybe off camera we'll have a discussion. But yeah, just start paying attention, folks. And we got to get this clown out of office, man. And we got to get some change. And we got to push the country and the culture forward. So be active and everybody stay safe out there, man.
Just like that, we're done. Try to do better next time. From the two of us to all of you. Talk to you next time.
Take us. Yeah. Nah, the voter suppression shit. I don't want to go down that fucking hole. But I'm thinking, all this shit got me in a fucking conspiratorial world, man. Because I wasn't going to go and vote in person, and now I'm like, man, these niggas seem too anxious to send me the mail-in ballot. And I'm like, somehow I feel like my mail-in ballot ain't gonna make it.